The checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
A new draft law proposes banning convicted individuals from leaving Georgia until they fully compensate victims for damages. The amendments are part of the law on the rules for the exit and entry of citizens from Georgia. Under the current law, citizens might already be restricted from traveling abroad if a court order prohibits it. The new proposal expands this by requiring proof such as a notarized document confirming full payment or settlement of compensation to the victim. If the victim refuses compensation under the lawful procedure, this will also be taken into account. The bill also introduces similar conditions for refusing immigration permits or passport for temporary departure if compensation obligations remain unpaid, in line with the law on enforcement proceedings. According to the preliminary note, the goal is to create an effective legal tool preventing offenders from evading responsibility and ensuring that victims receive full compensation before the convict can leave the country. Everyone has the right to express protest within the law, but if your representation is insufficient, you must respect the interests of the majority, said Georgian Dream Prime Minister-elect Kobakhidze. According to Kobakhidze, current enforcement measures have proven ineffective, which is why amendments to the administrative offences and criminal codes are being prepared. Our legislation, consistent with international standards, stipulates that if the number of protesters is insufficient to block a street, they must respect others' rights and refrain from obstructing public pathway. Fines have existed, but we are not entirely effective. Therefore, amendments are being introduced to ensure that largest minority does not oppress the majority, a core democratic principle, he said. The upcoming legislative changes will define new regulations for holding demonstrations and protests under both administrative and criminal law. During the annual meeting of International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, Minister of Finance Kvrivishvili and President of National Bank of Georgia, Natia, Turnava, held a meeting with Antonella Bassini, Vice President of the World Bank for Europe and Central Asia. According to the Ministry of Finance, the discussions center on ongoing and planned projects supported by the World Bank across both public and private sectors. These encompass initiatives focused on developing road infrastructure, boosting connectivity, and strengthening human capital, among other areas. The Minister of Finance briefed the Vice President on Georgia's current macroeconomic situation and medium-term forecast. Notably, the World Bank recently revised Georgia's economic growth outlook upward to 7%, the ministry stated. The Vice President of the Bank highlighted the significance of ongoing cooperation with Georgia and expressed optimism that the supported projects will foster sustainable development within the country's economy. Ronald Price, Regional Director of World Bank for the South Caucasus, Ekaterine Guntzadze, Deputy Minister of Finance, Vakhtang Tsignadze, Deputy Minister of Economy and Sustainable Development, and Tamar Taliashvili, Georgia's ambassador to the United States, attended the meeting, the ministry added. Natia Turnava, President of National Bank of Georgia, has highlighted growing international interest in the country from investors. Speaking during the annual meeting of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank in Washington, Turnava noted that some investors who were previously considering Georgia have already transitioned into active participants into the market. Turnava, who is attending the meeting with the Georgian delegation, described the platform as an important opportunity to engage with global financial leaders. This is a regular forum for central bankers, finance ministers, and government representatives to discuss ongoing projects, cooperation, future prospects, and hold bilateral meetings with other colleagues, she said. She emphasized that Georgia's appeal lies in its macroeconomic stability and consistent growth. This is gratifying that every year interest in Georgia is increasing. Even more encouraging is that investors who previously participated in similar meetings have now moved from potential investors to real investors, confirming that Georgia is a profitable and safe place for investment, Turnava explained. External merchandise trade of Georgia amounted to billion 5 million lari in January-September 2025, 9.1% higher year-on-year according to the preliminary data from the National Statistics Office of Georgia. The value of export increased by 7.7%, reaching 5.15 billion USD, while the imports increased by 9.7%, amounting to 13.4 billion USD. The trade deficit equal to 8.2 billion USD and its share in trade turnover constituted 44.4%. Georgia has seen a record-breaking tourist boom in 2025, welcoming over 4.3 million international tourists in the first 9 months of the year, according to the Ministry of Economy. Minister Mariam Kvrivishvili credited the growth to the peace, stability and the right policy direction. Compared to the same period last year, international tourist numbers rose by 7.9%, international visitors by 5.6%, and total international travels by 5.4%, reaching 6.1 million. Kvrivishvili highlighted that government policies and marketing efforts, particularly in expanding direct flights and attracting new airlines, have played a major role. New routes from markets such as France, Germany, China and Gulf states and Israel have significantly boosted tourist flows, she said. The minister added that this momentum is expected to continue through 2025, bringing increased tourist revenues, stronger local businesses and more employment opportunities.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.